right. Well, I think I self-sabotaged. I don't think that we're going to have many people showing up in the first half hour because I put the time as the wrong time on the advertisement. I'm on mute. No? You hear me? Can you hear me? Ooh.
I see your lips moving, but I do not hear your voice.
That is bad. Do we have any listeners out there? The microphone is on. Off. On. Let's see. Setting audio. Microphone. Now do you hear me? You hear me? No, microphone. That's not good that we tested it and it's not. Wow, I wish we had. Do we have a listener out there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me out there? Let's see. Settings, audio. Sorry. Spatial output device, output headphones, speaker.
I cannot hear you. I don't know why, because I heard you about 60 seconds ago.
Just below. Hear me on this microphone? Can you hear me on this one? No. Check. Can you hear me if I speak over my AirPods? Ay, ay, ay.
Well, let's try it.
Okay, can you hear me now? No. Can you hear me now? 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥, can you hear me? Because Henry is saying that my mic isn't feeding. He can't hear me. Can you hear me? I don't know. Unmute. Now. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥 says that he can hear me. Henry, 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥 says that can hear me. I know what I typed those for you. Try to go out and come back in, or check your headphones. Can you see the messages? Hi, Colton, what's up? I have no idea where Jonathan or Luke are. I think that they may have taken the 1730, the 530 problem on the, let's see if I can, studio, no, I don't want to do that. On the, hi Muriel, welcome. On the advertisement, I put 530 accidentally. And
okay,
so I think,
can you hear me?
Late. Yes, Henry, I hear you.
But I can't hear you. Okay.
I hear you, Henry, but you don't hear me.
Can't.
And Jonathan's here. Oh, he was for a second. Jonathan, are you here?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
We're having audio problems. Henry, can you ask Henry if he can hear you, because he can't hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Henry? It looks like he's muted or something.
Well, his mic is fine. He's able to hear us. I can edit his mic settings, like to reduce his mic and stuff, but I can't edit his audio settings. So
He looks like he restarted.
He's gonna probably pop out and in until he can figure out his situation. Hi guys, I'm sorry about the technical problems. I'm sorry about the misadvertisement. I didn't know about it until I was talking to Henry before we got started, and his speakers were working. He was able to hear me and everything. And it was just him and me before we started. And he said, I thought we started at 5:30. And I was like, why would you think that? He said, well,
we do start at 5:30.
We start at 5.
Here now.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, here's now. We start at 5. And then Wine Green starts at 6:30 because we have an hour and then we take a half-hour break.
That's
so,
right. I forgot.
Mea culpa that I sent out the advertisement incorrectly, but I'm so happy to see that our regulars are already here because they know when we meet. So we want to introduce Henry's son. He is a member with us on the Nerdy Biblical Language Major group on YouTube. Henry, before we get started, Dr. Son,
Henry,
would you like to give us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Hebrew, perhaps?
Huh.
Jonathan, you're not allowed to laugh at me yet.
Okay.
I am
just as a technical thing, you may move your camera down, your screen down a bit because you're sitting like way down. Yeah. We want to see your face.
Of course you do. I'm an old guy. I turned 65 this year, and so I've always been interested in the Bible. So I went to Wheaton College in the late 70s, early 80s. Was introduced to being a Bible major, and then ended up doing a degree in Old Testament exegesis for my master's degree. It turns out that at that time there were not a lot of open-minded Old Testament scholars in the evangelical world, along the lines of a couple of my New Testament heroes, Bob Gulick and Bob Gundry. And so I wanted to see if there was space for that. So after I graduated from Wheaton, I went to Claremont, did my PhD there in Old Testament studies, wrote my dissertation on the composition history of the Holiness Code in Leviticus 17 through 26, and found that, in fact, there was not much space for a mainstream Walter Brueggemann type who hadn't already been a published author and blah 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 blah. So the kind of the way that I have looked at it in the past was that I was too conservative for the mainline seminaries and I was too liberal for the evangelical seminaries. So now I am a high school math teacher. I pastor a church part-time in the California Bay Area. So I get to use my language skills in service of the church, even though I don't get to use them in terms of training pastor wannabes at a seminary.
Thank you very much for that. We also have some news from Jonathan, if he's willing to share, that he got a new position recently.
Oh, yeah. So I just sent my friend the wrong link. He wanted to join us.
As a reader?
He could, but he probably not the first time he comes to hang out with us. So yeah, I got appointed to Norwood Grace United Methodist Church in Cincinnati. I was filling in for Advent, and I filled in for Christmas. And then they said, "Can you stay till February?" Because I was only supposed to stay through Christmas. And he said, "Sure." And then last week rolled around, and they asked me to be their pastor. And then the district superintendent called me, and they just sent the paperwork that I have to sign. It's a quarter-time appointment, but it pays pretty well for a quarter-time appointment. So it'll be nice to have a little bit of extra income coming in as I finish my master's. So I told them I could give them at least a year because I still want to do the PhD thing. But
all right, Mazal tov.
I was too late getting the applications into most places. So I was just like, I'm going to take a year, get my stuff together, and then preach, and then we'll see if we can do the PhD next year.
So congratulations on the new track, the new journey track.
Thank you.
And we hope
Let
it
me
works
get
out.
the YouTube link to Ryan.
Speaking of YouTube links, well, first of all, we want to say hi to everybody that's come in, just real quick. I typed a lot up at the top because I was trying to figure out if people could hear me. We started before the advertised time, at least. So Muriel's here, and Adele is here, Colton's here. Hebrew Torah 101 is down here as well. Says also that he could read with us one day if we've got the space. Radar Apologetics is here with us, and also Rasmus. So good to see you guys. Welcome. It's wonderful to have our regular crowd. We hope that we'll be a larger crowd. Before we get started, I wanted to just run down real quick how you find things on our YouTube page, because I don't know if you're really spending time on it. So if you go to youtube.com/@thehebrew Cafe, like this, you get this page that has basically for you videos, whatever. Our sessions that we go through are under the tab called Live. So if you hit on Live, you'll be able to go through all of the live sessions that we've done so far. If you want to back up, I'm trying to remember to put them in a playlist as well. So that on the tab playlist, you should see Reading Joshua in Hebrew, and you should be able to go down through this. I've never shared audio over StreamYard before, so I don't know if this will go through. But you can see, I'm just going to pause it so you don't need to hear it. You can see over on the right, reading 1, then 1.7 FF, 1.12 FF, and so on. I try to add this weekly to the playlist. So if you want to, you can go through that. It should get you caught up pretty easily. And that's, I guess, it. And we'll open up the PowerPoint and get started. Remember to post your questions and any conversation you want to have over in the live chat, and we will get to it as we can. Pretty rapidly normally. Yeah. You've known my face for a long time now. Jonathan, you wrote that?
Yeah.
All right. We do know your face. All right. So here we go. Since Henry...
Anybody getting feedback from my speakers?
I am not.
Check. No?
I don't think so.
I am not.
Good. All right.
All right. So we're starting in chapter 6, verse 8. Since Henry is our guest, if he'd like to start, that would be perfectly
We
fine.
make our guest start.
Sure.
Right into the fire.
𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗦𝗢𝗏 ושבעה הכהנים נושאים שבעה שופרות היובאים לפני אדוני עברו ותקעו בשופרות ואהרון ברית אדוני הולך אחריהם.
All right. Sweet. What's
Perfect.
that mean?
What does it mean? It means that I can still do vowel points. It's been a while, but I think that is right. So the thing that's kind of interesting to me about this is it's first the 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗏, because I normally would translate something like that, and so it happened as Joshua was speaking to the people, and I would expect it to be to be continued with some kind of a vav consecutive construction later. That doesn't seem really to be happening here. So I wonder if it's better to translate, and it happened as Joshua spoke to the people, so that this is not a subordinate process clause, but it is kind of a summarizing introductory clause.
CJ said he knows his stuff.
Well, I mostly just know how to ask questions. I will not claim that that I know all of the answers to all of the questions that I ask. But if you continue reading in verse 8 and verse 9, there would be no obvious resolution to the traditional translation. It happened as Joshua was speaking to the people, or when Joshua spoke to the people. We'd expect some kind of a resolution that isn't obvious to me in verses 9 or 10.
Yep.
The other thing that's interesting to me is that when it talks about V'shiv'a haKohanim Noseim, the 7 priests bearing the 7 ram horns before the Lord, they passed and they blew on the horns, and the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord was walking behind them. It's curious to me, I noticed in one of the commentaries I was looking at, this presents kind of a different picture than verse 4 did. In verse 4 of this chapter, the instruction from the Lord seems to be that you walk in silence until the 7th day. But now it looks like they're blowing their trumpets on days 1 through 6 and the 7th day. And that is something that I'd never really noticed before in reading through Joshua 6. So one of the advantages of reading in Hebrew is that it forces me to slow down. When I read in English, I take too many things for granted. When I'm reading in Hebrew, I can't, because I don't read it as fluently as I do English any longer. And it struck me as curious that there was this weird little incongruity with verse 4. I don't know if you guys talked about that in your last thing or not, but if you go back to verse 4.
I think that the being quiet thing is the command about people talking and shouting, and the people are told to be quiet, but the trumpets blow as they're marching around the city. Like only the trumpets. Each day they go around the city one time, and only the trumpets are to be heard. But on the last day, the 7th day, they go around, the trumpets play as they go around the city 7 times. And then at the command of Joshua, the people are to make a lot of noise.
That could be, but the 𝗥𝗚𝗏 verb doesn't occur in verse 4a. It just says in the 7th day.
I can't back up on the text here, but I can pull another window over. Let's see, just a second.
I just have to say, oh no, never mind. Henry is right and I am wrong. Makes sense.
But yeah, I as far as the resolution of the Vav consecutive, I also don't see that, which is interesting, because it would seem to make verses 8 and 10 or 8 and 9 some kind of background, and you would expect 10 at least to have the Vav consecutive.
Some kind of resolution. That's why I'm wondering whether to say, and it happened as Joshua talked to the people. See, if you look here, the 7 priests are bearing the 7 ram's trumpets before the ark. On the 7th day, they will walk around the city 7 times, and the priests will blow on the trumpets. It doesn't say they blow on the trumpets for days 1 through 6. It says on the 7th day, they walk around the city. And there may be a resolution of that. I'm just simply saying I'd never seen that before, because when I read in English, I assume things and I read quickly. So it's just an observation that I have. And there's
interesting.
Lots of good observations.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, you throw enough spaghetti against the wall and a strand occasionally sticks.
You're too modest.
Luke has joined us. How you doing, Luke? How you feeling tonight?
Oh, I just overslept. I'm sorry. We were only in verse 1. I guess you got a little bit of
verse
an
8.
echo. Verse 8, sorry. But yeah, I've
got an echo. I'm using headphones.
It's a little bit of it's a little weird, but okay. For verse 8, I don't have anything to add there. I don't think.
Alrighty.
Explanation was.
Do you know Henry from NLN?
No, I don't.
Hi, I'm Henry.
If we're looking at the VHS, quick comment is that the whole first phrase. I'm just going to delete the mark so I can just do this. From let's see, all this first phrase is gone from the Septuagint. It doesn't exist. Just so you know, at least in the original, it says it's got the asterisk, which means I guess the oldest form of the Greek text.
Interesting.
Instead of 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗪, there are a few manuscripts, or there are many manuscripts. It says molti manoscritti that says 𝗥𝗚𝗦 instead of 𝗥𝗚𝗦.
Makes sense to me. That's what I would expect.
Mm-hmm.
Or 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗪 or something.
Or
like
Koch
that.
here. Right.
Yeah. Great minds think alike.
Right.
Where it says that they were carrying trumpets before the Lord. There are a few Hebrew manuscripts, along with the Syriac, the Vulgate, and what is T? I forget. Targum, maybe. That add Aaron, Lifnei Aaron Adonai. If we're just looking for.
Right.
I decided I'm going to just have the BHS open with me for now, so we can just consult
I
it without having to go to
loved my Targum class. It was so good.
And don't
Nice.
ask me to join you when we read Aramaic, because my Aramaic is poor.
Oh, I don't have Aramaic.
Jason's is too. I think I've had the most
So
Aramaic.
who wants to take verse 9? This is our second
I'll
verse.
do it. Yeah.
All right.
וחלוץ הולך לפני הכהנים tok-ev. That looks like a mistake.
Are you looking at the screen?
Yeah, it's the.
This is 𝗕𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗥.
Yep. Taku is the kare.
tok-a. The ktib is a mistake. It shouldn't be tak-u.
Right.
I don't have the.
Are you looking on the screen?
Yeah, I have taku.
Right.
It's not tak-u, it's tok-a.
I have taku in the
Right.
VHS note.
The ktib has a vav. The kri has a yod.
I have in the BHS it has taku. Not tok-a, but taku.
I think so.
Is that in the apparatus?
Yeah.
Look at the bottom of the word in the BHS. It's got the letters.
Multiple manuscripts, the Syriac and the Targum Q.
Jonathan, don't look at the apparatus. Look at the text. It says it has tzere.
Yes,
Why does it have tzere with the vav? Because it's saying that this is ktiv kere and that the vav should not be read. It's pointed as if this were yod instead of vav.
Right, but
so it doesn't say taku.
The BHS has taku as the kari. Taku.
Okay.
Third common plural.
Right.
That's not true.
I'm looking at the BHS apparatus in Logos, and it is showing me that the Ketiv is taku.
Are you looking at the BHQ, Jason?
I'm looking at BHS. It has this in the text with vav, okay?
Yes.
It has this in the text. In the margin, it has a kuf, which means kri, and it says taf kuf. This is what's in the margin. The vav is in the body of the text. The points belong to the kri.
I understand that.
Okay.
But, Jason, it has K, and then it has taku in the apparatus.
Right. The K stands for Ketiv.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was confused.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
We're all human.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a robot. But
okay.
Jonathan tells me I'm a robot all the time.
Jason has no, I don't. I say you're a machine, not a robot.
Machine.
There's a difference. A machine is a hard worker.
Asimov stole the title from me. I, robot. Mm.
Oh, I love that, and I saw that movie with Will Smith, and I thought it was great.
Which
I
one?
really liked iRobot.
Oh yeah,
I-
I liked it.
It
too.
is good.
7
go on.
Pounds was really good too.
Anyway, we should probably get back to
Yes,
Hashofar.
let's get back. Next verse. Well, no, you need to
No,
translate.
you didn't finish it. You didn't finish it either.
Oh yeah, I
Jonathan,
did-
this is you.
yeah. Oh
Hashofar.
right. So, however you want to pronounce 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗚 or 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗚𝗛, השופרות והמאסף הולך אחרי הארון, הולך ותקוע.
Does it say Olech? No,
Yeah.
see, that's not even tivkari. Aloch.
Oh,
No, there's
It
a
says-
holech and a haloch.
yeah.
A
Hello.
participle and an infinitive.
Yep.
Yeah. Olech achre Aaron haloch.
Yes.
Right.
Is that not what I said?
That's what I heard you say.
Okay.
Oh, I heard this as Olech also.
V'takoa, or sorry,
Mm-hmm.
v'takoa b'shofarot.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of
So,
good stuff in this one.
Yes, there is. What do you see that's interesting to you, Jonathan?
well, this 𝗥𝗓𝗦𝗘𝗧 is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The soldiers or the armed people. The armed people went before.
Another way to say it is instead of chalut, you could say chamush. Chamush is also carrying a weapon,
I think
okay.
that's the one I see
Armed.
more often.
armed.
What?
We even use it in modern Hebrew.
Muriel, I just saw your LOL comment. What were you laughing at? Jason being a robot? So
So why is it chalut?
because we have a guttural, like 𝗥𝗓𝗦𝗙, 𝗥𝗓𝗦𝗙𝗧.
So it's specifically gutter with kamatz that's not stressed. The stress is following. Okay. That is the case with Ha'arim,
And
okay, the
𝗥𝗓𝗦𝗙.
cities.
And,
Ha'arim,
yeah.
okay. Harim, mountains, right? The mountains. It's also the case with the chet particularly. Chet, even if the accent is placed there before it, will have segol instead of patach. So this is what we see also with the word echad. Echad, when it's in construct, when it's joined to the smichut, to the next word, is achad.
Right.
Achad. But when this is kamatz, like it normally would be, you can't have patach in front of it, so the patach switches to segol. So we have echad. It's the same phonetic principle.
So,
Okay.
so the armed ones went before the priests, and they blew the shofarot, the ram's horn.
Who is blowing the shofar?
That's a good question. It's
the
probably
priest.
not the soldiers, or is
No,
it is the
Right.
soldiers?
It has to be the priests. The priests are masculine plural. Echalutz is masculine singular, and there's no reason to think that it's switching with the constructor sensum.
Yep. Okay. Then so they blew the shofars, and they removed. Well, they what?
The word le'asef. Me'asef is somebody who goes in the back of a military formation.
Yeah, I think that's actually a PL participle.
Yeah,
So,
that's how I took it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
but, you would think that there's a verse that says that God is the me'asef of Israel. He's the one who guards from the back.
Oh, really? Do
Yeah.
you know what that?
Yeah,
do you
it
know
is. They have it translated as rear guard. Yep.
Yeah, rear guard. That's the
Do you
idea.
know what verse that is? Off the top
Yeah,
of
I
your
can
head?
find it.
No,
Not
it's
off the top
okay.
of my head.
Asaf is not a word that occurs 4 times in the Old Testament. So I'd be curious if you could just let me know later what verse you're talking about, where the Lord is the mass safe of Israel. That would be interesting to me, because the thing that caught my attention here was this PL participle. It's not a word that it's not a word that I see very often, even though
It would
a
have
cell
to be-
would be a
It would have to be a substantive participle.
Yeah, I think this is always like that.
That's a definite
Yasef is specific. It's most common also with this word. You see that the definite article does not take the dagesh, lack of dagesh. This almost always happens with the PL participle, with the non prefix.
And then there's
dagesh is lost.
And Jason, you're going to have to remind me because my knowledge of accents is very, very poor after these many years. The mark after the patach under the patach in the definite article makes that basically an open syllable, correct? The asef.
Generally, yes, but
Okay.
it's kind of hard to claim that about a short vowel.
No, I understand. That's
It would tell you. It does tell you you need to take a bit of a break there. That Luke would say you got to say it slowly, and so this would let us know that this should certainly be a vocal schwa.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's there. I think the guy is there to point
He's
out that
interested in the topic,
there's no dagesh in there.
Gaya.
They want you to say that it is a vocal schwa.
Right. What did you call the accent?
Normally it's called meteg, but the Masoretes tended to call it Gaya.
Yeah, I'm definitely out of my league here. Accents is not my forte.
Mine neither.
But I found something on this. Now we have, I read the 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗧, and the Maasef here, they're claiming it's the tribe of Dan because it's the last ones in the banner. And the Chalutz is the collective for the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the Manassites that are armed and going before them. So it's, yeah.
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Yes. They determined who would go before and who would go after as guards. These were the ones from Transjordan who were supposed to be helping them or protecting them as they're inheriting their portion.
So let's finish this verse.
Well, real quick, the Maasef is from Isaiah 52:12.
Thank
and
you.
It says, like the specific phrase, Ki holech lifnechem Adonai u'ma'asifchem Elohei Yisrael. So the Lord goes before you, and the God of Israel is your rear guard.
Right.
Isaiah 52:12.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yahweh
Jonathan, you can go ahead.
Yahweh guards your ass.
Oh, Jonathan, we're trying to keep. We want to monetize. We want to monetize our YouTube channel, and we can't have curse words.
That's an innocuous cuss word.
So let's say that it's not a cuss word. It's talking about a donkey, but let's not use.
Oh yeah. God.
We want to have a monetized YouTube channel that will bring in money, and if we
need to
have
get
dirty words, we
revenue.
can't do
We
that.
need to get more viewers and subscribers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the rear guard. Let's see. Wait a second. Where did I go? The rear. This is interesting because it's a present participle that I would translate it as past tense for some reason, or you could maybe say the rear guard were going after the ark. Haloch, going and blowing the shofarot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Aloch is also used, just so you know, in combination with vashov. Aloch vashov, meaning back and forth.
Right.
Aloch is forward and shov is back. It could also be a return ticket if you're flying to the United States. You buy kartis aloch vashov, aloch hazor. We use today hazor. Hazor is the same as shov. Excuse me, hazor. Because we use the root lachzor for returning in modern Hebrew.
Thanks for commenting, Colton, my defender. We should hide the pictures because we can't see your writing underneath, Jason. Oh yeah, we can if I hide the comment.
And notice also in verse 9, no finite verbal forms. They were all participles.
Interesting. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And here we get a finite form of the verb. but it doesn't really follow up nicely with the 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗧𝗧 of verse 8.
Which seems that it would have to be there'd be some kind of justification for an interruption with topicalization of 𝗥𝗚𝗦. Yeah, instead of the verb consecutive. Luke, do you want to read this one?
Sure. I'll just say on the last verse, the people, according to the Radak, it's 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡, are the priests, are the ones that are walking to and fro and blowing the shofar, and not the those of the tribe of Dan.
Well, it can't be to and fro. It has to be in one direction.
Yeah, okay.
Halach is just one direction.
Walking about and blowing, yes.
Yeah. It has to be the priests, of course. This is why they're called 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Mm-hmm. But it is good to call that out specifically.
Jason, question.
No, I don't, because that's how we talk in Israel. Halach.
Oh.
Halach.
I do, because that's how
Yeah,
it's
me too.
But if you're reading fast, the idea is the hey falls off, and you don't really need to pronounce it.
For most speakers of modern Hebrew, the hey is silent, like ale.
For most,
so you say he went. You would say like hu halach, but we would say u halach without the hey. Like it sounds more natural to us.
Yeah, the Jewish professors that I have usually don't pronounce it. They pronounce it if it's at the beginning of a sentence, but if they're reading along and reading quickly, they won't pronounce it. Like instead of Susei Hamelech, since it's read together and
it's really not true. Yoshua. Why did Yehoshua or Yehonatan? How about that? It's better. Yonatan become Yonatan because the hey that's right there just dropped out because they didn't say it. So Yonatan.
Yep.
It's very old. It's a very old thing with the language. So. Anyway, Luke, go for it.
Okay. ואת העם ציווה יהושע לאמור, לא תריעו ולא תשמיעו את קולכם, ולא יצא מפיכם דבר. עד יום אומרי עליכם הריעו והריתם. So, it says...
Hari'otem, right? I didn't hear the O.
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that. Okay. And Joshua commanded the people, saying, do not shout and do not let your voices be heard. Do not raise your voices. And no word should go out from your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Until the moment of my saying, until the moment that I say,
or the day, right?
To you. Yeah, we'll talk about Yom in a second. I got something also from the rabbis. To you to shout, and is this then, and you shall shout?
I think this is supposed to be a quotation because it's imperative. Until the time of my saying to you, shout and shout. Like these are really the same thing.
No, I don't think I will dissent from that. I think that the quotation is hariu, and the following verb is the consequence.
Right. This is the imperative, and this is the consequence. Yeah, this one will happen.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. This is imperative, and this is a consequence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So shout, you should shout, and you will shout.
So they shout
until when I say shout, and then you will shout.
Yeah. Okay. That's how I punctuate it in English.
Yeah.
So here we don't have very much interesting, except for I guess syntactically omri is the Kal infinitive construct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess it's the normal form. Like you have overhomo and stuff.
Well, usually you would often have a preposition on the front of it, but you don't always have to.
Well, this is the preposition.
Yom function that way until the day of my saying.
Until I translate it until the moment, because you have in the rabbis, or Radak says there's a passage in the Psalms, and it says something like Hayom tza'akti balayla negdecha, and you can't have Yom and Laila at the same time. So it's at the time of my crying out during the night. And they point this out, that it's not a separate day. It's the same day. It happens the same day. And so he says it's a moment. It's a time.
What text are you reading?
And so he's reading the commentary from Radak in the 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡.
Rabbi David Kimchi, yeah?
Kimchi, okay.
Yeah.
Kimchi. So this would make sense of those verses in the Psalms. It says, on the day when I cry out to you. And it doesn't mean the day. It just means when I cry out to you. Anytime.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Tzivah, we would like Henry was talking about, we would have expected a vav consecutive here to complete or to resolve the preposed section. The 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡, or I think it was 𝗥𝗚𝗦 was the verb.
Right.
And that would have been 𝗖𝗛𝗔𝗧, and he commanded. So 𝗥𝗚𝗦 has been fronted. And normally things are fronted for the purpose of topicalization. I don't know what the result would be in our interpretation of the text based on that, but normally we would say 𝗖𝗛𝗦 Yehoshua et ha'am lemor. But it's been broken, which is frustrating for those of us who are waiting for a vav consecutive to resolve that 𝗥𝗚𝗦.
Yes, we are.
So what is the difference between lo tariu velo tashmiu et kolchem? The lo, sorry for that lamed, it looks really ugly. My pen worked that way, I don't know why. And al tariu ve'al tashmiu et kolchem. What is the difference?
𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗪𝗘 concept.
Well,
how would you explain it, Jonathan?
When we were doing a 1 Samuel passage in our class last year, we came across lo with the second person, or all with the third person. Which,
why not?
Well, because all usually goes with second person verbs, and lo usually goes with third person verbs.
Not really.
At least according to John Cook.
There's al and bal. Bal is like a psalmic negation. It's from poetry. Both of them can be paired with a jussive. How about there's the famous passage that Luke brought up to me earlier, Psalm 122,
Al
where it says,
Al
yanum shomrecha.
Yeah.
Al yanum shomrecha. May your guardian or your protector not snooze or linamnem. I don't know how you say that. Slumber, I think they translate it.
So it's still
let him not slumber. Al yanum, third person.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The other thing is from a.
I think also one of the. Huh? I think that's from Psalm 191. I think where it says that he'll give his angels charge over you. Isn't it 191?
Jehovah cares for me.
No, it's Psalm 121.
Henry got that joke.
Isn't it?
I remember when I was at Claremont.
191. There are 150 psalms. I've lost my mind.
Yes,
I think it's Psalm 91 or 90 that says he will give his angels charge over you.
Jehovah
and it says he let not your foot stumble. I think it says lo yamot or something like al yamot.
Yeah, we had talked to Claremont about the form critical difference between lo with the imperfect and all with the jussive in terms of prohibitions. Are they stronger? Are they weaker? And that kind of thing. So that's a more complex question than just a morphological one. All plus the jussive and lo plus the imperfect. So brings back memories.
I read it as like the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments says lo tignov.
Right.
So it's setting out a prohibition that applies basically to everybody.
Right.
But if I'm in the situation, I see somebody grab a piece of candy and put it in their pocket, I don't say to him "lo tignov," because then I'm in the situation where he's actually doing it, and to make it, to stop him from doing it, I say "al tignov." Al tignov את זה, תחזיר את זה למקום. Like, put it back where you go.
Hey, Henry, do you remember learning all as a temporary and lo as a permanent prohibition?
No. That may have been something that was bandied about, but if it was bandied about, I did not hear. I never.
That would be Lambden.
Oh well, I did not. I grew up with Weingreen and Gesenius. I've looked at Lambden.
Yes.
I've looked at Lambden, but I haven't studied Lambden. So that
I remember bringing that up a couple years ago, and Jason was like, "No, that's not true. That's ridiculous."
I tend to get too emotional about things. I do. I misremembered this. It's Psalm 91:12. I'm sorry, I misremembered it. Al kapayim yisa'uncha. That's the nun energikum right there. That's nice. Pen tigof ba'aven laglecha. So tigof, pen tigof, it uses lest. I don't know why I was remembering that with bal. I'm very sorry. I hate the misremembered things. But there you go. Yeah. All right, so we've got the lotar iu.
Jason doesn't make mistakes; he only misremembers.
Oh, that was a mistake. So what about the lo yetse? Lo yetse mipichem davar. What's going on with the yetse? How would we classify that verb? It looks like a regular yikpol, right?
Well, yeah, it's a colon perfect, right?
Yeah.
The subject is davar. It's a little weird that the person changed from second person plural to third masculine singular, but I don't know if Bible Keeper says you shall not let a word go forth from your mouth. So I'm used to seeing that with davar as a subject, but I don't know if Yatzah ever takes davar as an object so that they could say
it certainly is. It is a subject for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A word shall not come out
from your mouth. But that's an impersonal construction. My question is, I don't know if Yatzah is used personally, like don't cause your voice to be heard, don't shout, don't cause a word to go out from your mouth. If that type of language was common, I'd expect that instead of the Yetzeh Mepikem Davar. But I don't know if Yatzah functions in that way. So it's
I don't recall ever. I think what I'm hearing from you is maybe a theoretical construction like lo totziu mila. I don't need the dagesh there. Davar. Yeah.
Something like that. I just don't know if expressions like that exist.
This isn't familiar to me. I think I would expect the third person.
Yeah.
It shall not happen. Yeah. It's not familiar to me. It could be, but it's not familiar to me.
And it's not wrong.
Yeah.
But we have a similar construction, not exactly the same, but in the Abraham and Isaac story.
Where is that?
Lo ta'aseh mu'umah. Do not do anything to him. I think it's ta'aseh, maybe ya'aseh though.
What text are you thinking of?
Genesis 22 at the end, when the angel comes to rescue Isaac.
This is the Akedah for Genesis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, don't do anything to the boy.
Mm-hmm.
That me'umah, we do have we use that today too, but we have words for nothing in modern Hebrew. When you have lo with a verb or al, negative, at the end you can say klum, nothing, or shum davar. Just for people who want to have an idea about modern Hebrew and how we say it. Klum, shum davar. So ani lo yodea klum. I don't know anything. I know nothing. Ani lo yodea klum. Lo shamati shum davar. I didn't hear anything. Lo shamati klum.
Let's try to get through one more verse.
Yeah, the next one's mine. ויסב אהרון אדוני את העיר. הקף פעם אחת. Notice that it's not achat like I want to say, but echat. And it's for the same reason that in pause, the achat, well, I'm going to try to write this again, achat. In pause, the tone syllable lengthens, and then it has that effect on the patach that it can't be there, and it becomes echat, even though it's feminine. Feminine, echat. Okay. אהרון אדוני את הכף פעם אחת, I don't know why I'm saying פעמיים, I just got it in my head. ויבואו המחנה. This is directional, without the directional hey, without the ah. It's directional.
Yeah.
וילינו במחנה.
You couldn't have it because it ends in a hey already, right?
Well, it could also be that the word bo often appears with basically an accusative, with an object, meaning enter, like I will enter the house of the Lord. Avo Beit Adonai. You don't have to say Avo Be or Le or El. You can just say Avo Beit Adonai. I will enter the house of the Lord. So it could be, and they entered the camp.
And Jonathan, you can have nouns with a final hey that are written with a directional hey if the final hey of the root becomes a tav. That does also,
which is feminine.
That makes sense. Yep. That makes sense.
Which is feminine because the original form had a top with a case ending.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Vayasev Aaron Adonai et ha'ir, the ark of the Lord, the ark of 𝗷𝗓𝗓𝗢, surrounded or went around. Okay.
Yeah.
The akef here is going to be an infinitive. What? An infinitive. It looks like it's supposed to be an infinitive absolute.
Yeah, it's a hifil infinitive absolute, but it's pointed with a 𝗕𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗧 instead of a 𝗕𝗑, which is interesting because a few verses earlier they pointed it with a 𝗕𝗑 yod instead of with a 𝗕𝗑. Earlier in the
but the 𝗕𝗑 yod is common for the infinitive construct, and the 𝗕𝗑 is the infinitive absolute.
Yeah,
they have that difference.
Go back and check that. I need to see if that was an infinitive absolute or infinitive.
Let's see if I have that text pulled up on the computer. Just a second. What happened? Go back.
It's in verse 3.
Go back. Okay, so let's see if I have that up. We can go up to verse 3. Can you see the text?
Yes.
וסבותם את העיר כל אנשי המלחמה, הקף את העיר פעם אחת. So they read this, even though it has the yod is superfluous. It doesn't need the yod.
Jason, you're having some connection issues.
Oh, and that's
no, I'm not.
Not a.
You're all having
having
a problem connecting to me.
And I misread that. I read that as a 𝗕𝗑 yod, not a 𝗕𝗑 yod. So that's my mistake. Shame on me.
See, we all make mistakes.
So there's a problem with this verse, though.
Yeah, there is.
So, hold on a second. The Ark of the Covenant went around the city, and we're going to read it as, again, encircling one time.
Right.
La'akif is to make a circle around something. And they entered the camp. This would be the people. This is the people now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They entered the camp and they slept in the camp. Lalin is to spend the night, to sleep. It's where we get the word malon, hotel, inn. Malon.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
Mm-hmm. Lalun or lalin. Mm-hmm. Apart from that, I think everything is pretty clear. We have the issue of the root of vayasev.
Geminate.
It's funny because it's supposed to be samech bet. So why is the bet? Why is the samech the one that's doubled?
Yeah. That's what happens. If you look up the paradigm, that's how it happens.
Actually, to be a little more specific than that, if my main grammar for morphology is Gesenius Couch, they talk about this as being an alternative hifil writing of the ayin weak verbs. Normally, the 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗧 is not in the stomach, in the pay consonant. It's normally in the ayin consonant. And here, bait, take that because bait is not a guttural.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was yeah, you're right.
So this is an alternate. It bothered me when I looked at it. It bothered me enough that I had to actually look this up last night. It's an alternate hifil pointing that is not normal for the double ayin verbs, but it does exist.
It's definitely ugly. It's there.
And the same thing seems to be happening with 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘, because no, I'm sorry, because that's from a different root. That's from nakaf, not kafaf.
Right. Once you have the noon that's assimilated.
Yeah, the noon's gone. Yeah, I made a mistake.
Yeah, the noon goes into.
See, Jason, Henry actually admits his mistakes.
Well, can't all be perfect.
Well, aren't you full of yourself?
No, I mean Henry's perfect and I'm not, because I don't admit my mistakes.
Oh,
I thought you don't admit your mistakes because you don't make any.
No, I certainly do.
Okay. We're going to get in one more?
Wait.
I guess we could.
Yeah.
We've got 4 minutes and we had 2 people come late. So if you want to, as our guest reader.
We're
What's that,
going
Luke?
to discuss that, though. There's still more to discuss about this 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗧𝗑.
All right.
Because we've got to me it's still kind of an unclear form, because you've got a hifil form.
Right.
What is the subject here? And the rabbis,
𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗧𝗑 Adonai.
Right. Would have to be
It
the
has
art
to be.
of war.
Yeah, but the rabbi said the subject is Joshua, that he caused the Aaron Adonai to be caused it to go around the city.
Oh,
Could be.
I don't see how that's possible.
If you take it as a null subject clause, you'd have to take it as a null subject clause.
But it's more than that. Another problem would be you've got, if you take Joshua, let's put Joshua in there. So now we have Joshua, and then we have this as an object.
Yeah, you'd have to have that as an object.
And then we have this as an object. Are we going to take it as a 3-argument verb? And if it is taken as having 3 arguments, then it needs to be shown in other places to work that way. And I don't think that's true.
So having taken 3 courses on rabbinic literature, the rabbis read a lot of stuff into the text that isn't there to make it interpretationally interesting and applicable to life, right? So that might be what they're doing.
Let's see where else we have hifil of the root.
so while Jason's doing that, I will say that since Joshua is the subject of tzivah in verse 10, and all of verse 10 ends by closing Joshua's quotation on the assumption that the 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗧𝗑 is part of the quoted speech, you could use that as a syntactic argument that vayasev is continuing the subject that was expressed in verse 10. I don't particularly like that. That was not my first reading of the verse, but now that it's mentioned, I can see someone making the assumption that the subject of verse 10 continues in verse 11 without a clearly marked subject. I don't personally have a problem with the construction that says Joshua caused A to walk around B. That doesn't seem to me to be out of the ordinary for the hifil causatives for Savav, but it is not the reading that I would immediately go to because of the ease of making Aaron Adonai the subject of the verb.
I would second that, but just let me say that I would expect there to be some kind of preposition, like I would expect something like vayaseb et Aaron Adonai sviv ha'ir, or something like that, like a preposition that would say around. because you need to mark that Aron Adonai is the object, especially if there is no explicit subject. But here we have a call up. Luke, you were going to say something. Luke, you were going to say something before.
Yeah, the problem is the hefir. You can actually point as vayasov as a kal, which is also what is probably done by the Septuagint, but they didn't go that route. They said hefir, which means it has to.
So
be,
let's look. We've got this in Exodus 13:18.
Right.
So he made them go. He made the people go. Obviously, he made the people go around through the desert.
Right.
All right. Let's
That would
see.
be
This is our verse.
Mhm.
Can you go back to that one in Exodus, Jason?
Mhm.
Because it seems like the one in Exodus is the strongest argument against the rabbinic reading, because it's what was made to go around that is the object of vayasef. So, and that's marked with X. So if we wanted to read it the way that the rabbis were reading it, I would expect this to be vayasef et Haron Adonai Ha'ir.
Yeah.
That's how.
But I don't know what we would do with this. I don't know if we would have Sviv Ha'ir around the city, because the ark to go around the city.
But 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡 doesn't have any preposition or marker, and that's what he made.
Derech can be a preposition. Derech can mean through.
Oh, then I've learned something. I don't remember
Like
that.
if you say Derech Echalon, it's through the window.
Yeah, see, I'm used to Derek being the path or the way of or towards. So I'm not familiar with Derek as a preposition.
No. But I mean, I don't know how. Let's see how it's read in the translation. Hold on. Let's see if we put this in translation in RSV. So God led the people by the roundabout way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea, maybe through the wilderness, through the Red Sea. I'm not sure.
Derek could be way.
Yeah. Let's see. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗪𝗘 𝗔𝗕𝗦𝗓 𝗔𝗕𝗫.
Yeah, see,
They made their faces go around. Yeah, there's no object. Well, there is an object.
No second object.
But it, let's see. They obviously the subject would be the same here, so it would be explicit where the subject was there. So what Aaron Elohei Yisrael. Okay, they made the ark of the God of Israel go around.
No second object. So that doesn't help us.
This also has only one object, which means two arguments, subject and object. 𝗔𝗕𝗦𝗪𝗘 Elai, that's a bit different with the Beck double. Great. 𝗔𝗕𝗦𝗪 Elai et Aaron Elohei Yisrael la'amitenu ve'et ami. So they caused it to come over to me in order to kill me and my people. להסב אליך את כל ישראל, cause all of Israel to go over to you. It looks like this is different. This להסב doesn't look like savev. It looks like suv, lasuv, to turn aside. You know what I mean?
With a shin, though, right? Instead of with a stomach, that would be with a shin, not a stomach.
No, lasuv is with samach. To turn aside, like lasur. It's lasur with resh. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
lasur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Lasur.
You're making a lot of misremembrances today.
It's don't forget, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here.
That's true.
It's functioning. I haven't even had coffee yet. I had a bit of Coke Zero, but not coffee. להסב אליך הסב אל אחריהם ובאת להם ממול והסב את Amasa. I don't know what Amasa is. It looks like a person's name. Min המסילה. Again, there's only one object. There's no double object. I don't see. Et panav. Why did things keep moving around? Stop moving around. How can I hit escape? Okay, that's good.
Jason talks to his computers too. Stop moving around.
ויסב את פניו, הסב בית אדוני, ויסב את פניו אל הקיר, he turned it to the wall.
Right.
So I would expect some kind of preposition like this.
You would, right. And that, I think, is that's the other problem with reading it the way the rabbis did it, I think.
Yeah. אל הקיר.
I think, Colton, I think what Coots and Josh Berger are saying about this, Savav, I think that as one of my professors would say, that's a story you could tell.
Yeah.
An original two-letter root that what became a triconsonantal root to match.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't see a three-argument version that would support it.
All right, we need to go because it's 1:05 and I need to get food before we start. So.
Yeah, we've got 25 minutes till we start with wine grain. We're going to be working through wine grain exercise 12 today. Exercise 12 is, as we covered, dropping my stuff, dropping my VHS. It's where we cover the 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗚, the future, and the 𝗔𝗕𝗬𝗢, if I'm correct. I think that's what Colton told me.
This is interesting. Hasav?
Which means he lists it as taking two objects in Klein. That's worth looking.
Is that the root that he says it's from? Hasav?
No, this is the infinitive. Or it's the past tense. He did it. They said.
Okay, cool. All right.
Let's look at that with Klein. Anyway, Jonathan, you're free to go eat, and we'll close up here in just a minute.
All right.
Before everyone leaves, since Jonathan and I know each other from the Nerdy Biblical Languages thing, I would be interested in the Hebrew expertise here in understanding what's happening with Psalm 50, verse 1, and the phrase El Elohim Adonai. Because most translations take that as a three-word reference. So they translate God, the Lord, or something like that. I'm kind of curious as to why it's not being read. The Lord is the El of gods. So the El is in construct. Elohim is its genitive. And it's either a nonverbal or a verbal affirmation that Yahweh is the El of God.
It's because people like to forget or brush aside the monolatrous tone of the Old Testament.
Okay, but I'm talking about grammatically.
Oh, okay.
Why? And there's a Nerdy Biblical Languages book, and it shows up in, you might get there. It shows up in Joshua 22:20 as well.
Maybe next year.
So this El Elohim Adonai clause, it occurs 3 times in the Hebrew Bible, and when I saw it, I just happened to see it. My immediate sense was the El of gods is the Lord.
Me too.
But it seems like very few modern translations, not even the NJPS of 85. Most don't go that way, and that always is enough to make me suspicious of my instinct.
What does the NET say?
I think they, let me bring that up. I don't remember, but they do not take it as a construct. So in
do the Masoretes take it as a construct?
Well, you know my view about the Masoretes and
the accents. Yeah.
So the NET says El, God, the Lord has spoken.
What about, let's see what the NRSV says. What's the verse again?
Psalm 50, verse 1.
The mighty one, God the Lord, speaks.
Right. See? 3 names.
Yeah, but the mighty one, it's taking at least El as the mighty one, God the Lord as one expression. The mighty one, God the Lord, speaks.
Except that has to be El, Elohim Adonai if it's following the Hebrew wording, because El comes first and Elohim comes second. So anyway, if you have time and if you care to chime in on that, it's it's almost enough to make me want to write a short little something and submit it to like the Torah.com to see how they would, whether they would publish it as a legitimate alternative to how they've done it.
The NLT, interesting, said the Lord, the Mighty One, is God. That's interesting.
So Elohim.
The Septuagint takes it as a construct form. It says theos, theon, kurie.
Well, yeah, well, right. That's how I would take it.
But I want to say that this line between those two, I'm not exactly sure what the function there is, but if the Masoretic pointing in a lot of places is old. It's very, very old. Like you could trace some of it back to even like the 1st century CE. I don't know how much, but we got a lot. There's a lot of places where you can choose two different pointings, and the Septuagint always chooses the right one. There's a lot of stuff by Jan Joosten. Jan Joosten.
We know where your biases lie, Luke.
Stefan Schorsch. Stefan Schorsch has talked about this, and 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗏 and Jan Joosten.
Okay, I need to go so I can eat in 15 minutes. Bye, folks. Henry, thanks for joining us.
Good meeting you, Jonathan.
I meet you all the time.
Right. Good seeing you here.
Yes.
No, it was right. Just Jonathan.
What?
Bye, Jonathan. Enjoy your food. We'll see you in a bit.
Okay. Bye, Jason.
So, Jason,
let's see about this verse. I have not even thought about it before. This is the verse you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Verse 1.
Yeah, the Elohim.
Mizmor Asaph, so it's a song of Asaph. El Elohim Adonai diber, vayikra aretz, mimizrach shemesh ad muva'o.
Right.
Nothing is added by the BHS, which just says that not a few manuscripts in agreement with the Septuagint and one edition of the Peshitta says ve'ad instead of ad. No big deal.
That's not what I care.
Elohim Adonai diber. Elohim Adonai is a title that does appear sometimes together instead of Adonai Elohim or Adonai Eloheinu. We do sometimes see Elohim Adonai, so that's not surprising. So the question is about El, the function of El. Is El the God of Elohim Adonai?
The God of God is the Lord. He speaks and he calls the earth from the rising of the sun until it's setting.
Mm-hmm. So what is the structure? El Elohim Adonai.
Have you looked in Dahoud?
Pardon?
Have you looked in Dahoud about the Ugaritic background?
I have, but I don't recall that he addresses the construct state of El. What I will say is that in that Facebook post, J.P. Kang, who did his PhD in Hebrew Bible, mentions that there's 3 other places where El is followed by a plural noun. El in construct is followed by a plural noun, and then is followed by the divine name Yahweh. So the syntactic structure of El plus construct plus Adonai is something that is attested elsewhere. It's a plural construct, it's a plural noun paired with the construct, just like Elohim is a plural noun here. So that's kind of my rabbit hole for the next little while.
So, I mean, just looking at it, I think the Septuagint handles it well. That says theos theon kurios. That is, the God of gods, the Lord has spoken. As if the Lord is in opposition to the God of gods.
Right, and that could be too. So whether El Elohim Adonai is its own separate verbless clause, or are 2 appositional nouns that are the joint subject of diber, that doesn't matter to me. As for Colton's comment, my translation would be something like, because I would take it as a verbless clause, the El of gods is the Lord. He speaks and he calls the earth from the rising of the sun until its setting. Something along those lines. So I'm not.
See, I would take El Elohim as the subject of Diber, and Adonai as appositional.
Right, could be the God of God, the El of gods, comma, the Lord, comma, speaks. That would be totally reasonable also. But you would
This is what we see from the Septuagint.
Right, but you would still take the theos, the El Adonai as a construct phrase, not as a noun, comma, noun, the way that it is often translated in the translations that I checked. Does that make sense, Colton? You're free to say no if it doesn't. I've not made sense before. So anyway, you have there's a lot of Hebrew knowledge in the 4 people that were on the Zoom and with some of the people in the audience. So I'd be curious to know of your reading of that. See, and I don't know Latin, so I can't go to the Vulgate.
Well, the Latin agrees with the Greek. Like Deus Deorum is the God of gods, and then the name Dominus.
Okay. So they're taking it as a construct
this is locutus is like a passive participle. Locutus est means he has spoken.
Okay.
So the God of gods, the Lord, has spoken.
Right. Okay.
So they seem to all agree, the ancient witnesses.
Well, the modern translations don't seem to agree with the Septuagint or
I see.
Vulgate.
Look at this one. It's weird. God, the Lord God, spoke.
Right.
And we have
the 85 version of the NJPS.
That's
the 85 version. Yeah.
The mighty one, God, the Lord, speaks. Like they break each one up. This is the Christian standard. And this is NRSV. It's got the mighty one, God the Lord, speaks in someone's ear.
Yeah.
Not a verse that I had really thought about. Just to close up the issue of Savav before we go. This is from Klein's, the Dictionary of Classical Hebrew. He says, cause to circumnavigate, cause to go around. He gives several examples. And then he specifically says that it has object. If you see here, object 1, it's the object being caused to circumnavigate, like the ark or whatever. And then after that, he says there's number 2, the object being circumnavigated. So he gives Joshua 6:11 as this, just like the rabbis were saying, he caused the ark of the Lord to circumnavigate the city.
Right. And he specifically identifies Joshua as the subject of the verb in the second line.
Yeah.
And to clarify,
and as far as
it's not the rabbis, but it's the Radak based on probably a rabbinical reading. But
yeah.
That is very interesting.
I'll go with it.
In my first read. That is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had a lot of things come up today, a lot of issues. I will remind people who are in the viewership to please like the live stream and subscribe to us. Check out our other videos. We're about halfway where we need to be with viewing hours in order to become monetized. So please go back through and look at old videos and give us a few hours of viewing if you can. I'd really appreciate it because we need to monetize this thing and make it something that can last. So much appreciate you being with us, Henry. Do you have any feedback or comments?
No, I thought this was great. I'm going to hope that you're going to skip chapters 13 to 21, since those are mostly just a list of cities. That may not be the most interesting part about it, but I love reading Hebrew, and I love hearing what other people see, and I love just seeing stuff and wondering what's happening here. Why is this going on? And so I am grateful for the expertise of others when it comes to Hebrew.
Yeah. Luke, got anything to say before we close up?
Just that, we need to keep on plugging through the book. the names are actually interesting for geographical reasons, but I mean, we could think of a different format for that. So just kind of going through fast. And if there's any kind of topics that we need to talk about, we need suggestions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to see.
We might ask the viewers what kind of things they want to hear about, because like you brought up the idea of the short form told, the 𝗔𝗓𝗬𝗢.
Yeah.
Definitely something that I think a lot of people would like to go over. We could cover grammar maybe in shorts. Start releasing different types of things to view. So, all right, guys, thanks so much.
Thanks for inviting
Yeah,
me.
isn't it pretty?
Cool.
That's from Luke.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool. Looks cool.
Yes, thank
Hasta
you very much.
mañana.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for
Okay.
coming.
Bye.
Bye bye. I'm 𝗔𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗧𝗢𝗡, we say.